Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hola.
Hi.
Hello. We will just give 1 minute, okay, until we officially start. But I think we have already 20 people in the webinar, which is a very nice number. I know some people are still missing and getting connected, so we will just give 1 minute if that's fine. Okay, and then we will officially start. Okay. Welcome everyone, to some new people there, familiar faces. Nice to see you all. So, okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Sí,
Okay, amazing.
sí, claramente.
Okay, gracias. Great, so we will start. I think some people will keep arriving, but that's totally fine. First of all, it's introduction. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon to some of you, maybe good evening to some of you also, depending on where you're connecting from. This is a global webinar, so we will have people from, we are having actually people from Germany, Spain, Chile, Colombia, France also. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This webinar is going to be in English. I hope you can all get to understand it, but if you also have questions, you can write us on the chat, and we will have there Martin, which actually I want to introduce also. Martin Lealitz from 2011 also, and will be supporting this webinar. My name is Malulanda Berea, and I'm the International Project Coordinator at 2011. Most of you might know 2011, but it's a platform for social and ecological change. So we closely work with higher education institutions, and we promote inclusive, sustainable, and transformative practices through innovation, collaboration, and capacity building through different projects. So I know that we have worked here with many of you and institutions and universities, and that's our mission. So we are very happy to be here today starting this project. So yeah, basically we will be now the 1 hour and a half, and the following one, working on gender perspective at university and higher education institution. So the idea of this webinar is that we hope to explore also practical strategies, experiences, and lessons learned on how to meaningfully also integrate gender perspective in universities, right? Which is something that we are hearing more and more, but we still lack many times methodologies and tools on in order to approach there in a good way, or also try to get our vision done. So I'm also very happy to introduce some of our panelists today. We have today like 4 amazing panelists. And first of all, thank you and welcome to you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. It's very nice to have you here. We have today to Ludwika Leiste, also from the Technische University of Dortmund in Germany, also Inés Sánchez de Madariaga, also working in the Polytechnic University of Madrid, and also we will introduce more, but also working with some other universities. Also Jennifer Ábalos from the University of Santiago de Chile, and Irune Martínez Rebolledo, also working in the government in Chile. So we have different profiles working in different contexts and social realities. This is great. Also, you know, like the backgrounds are kind of different. Some of them working more in architecture or urbanism. Some others working more on social innovation, in STEM disciplines, also in the government. So I think it's like an amazing space for conversation and for exchanging. So yeah, just minimum things. This session is going to be recorded, but it's just for the purposes of the project and also to share it with the participants here. If anyone has any type of concern, like please feel free to contact me. You can find here my email in case you want to take a picture. Also, maybe Martin, you can leave it in the chat, on the chat, in case anyone has any challenge or any problem or any concern of being here. Usually, the video we share is of the speakers and the slides, so not all the public will appear there, but just in case, so you know. Some other notes that, yeah, this webinar really aligned with the topic is a space for support, for radical diversity, opting for respect of all cultures, origins, and we really stand for mutual respect. And there's no space for any kind of discrimination in this space. Please also, if anyone feels discriminated or wants to be treated differently, please contact me also. As mentioned, Martin will leave my email in the chat. Yeah, so, and also share if you feel like the space it's not safe enough as you would like to, in order to have these conversations. And some small Zoom meeting agreements, like this webinar is in Zoom, but we expect to have it to be also participatory. Yeah, we invite you to put your name, surname, and institution, and also pronouns if you wish, like in your Zoom name, please. So in case you want to talk, we can name you. Also, feel free to raise your hand, your virtual hand, unfortunately, and we will give you the space. Of course, if we don't have too much time, we will also ask you to write the questions or concerns in the chat. But we would love to hear your voices also after the panels. Also, feel free to leave questions there in the chat, and Martin will be supporting us. Try to, I know that after pandemic, we probably all know this, but just after we talk, try to mute your microphones and stuff like that so we don't listen to your private conversations. And ideally, if you can use headphones, just if you have. And also, we always invite people to have the camera on just to have a better interaction, but also feel free to put it off if you don't feel like. So now a bit of the context. This webinar is organized under the project called Labs for Change. It's an Erasmus Plus funded project. It started last year in 2024 at the end of the year, and we will be running the project for another year, more or less, another half and a year. This project aims to promote gender equality, diversity, and social innovation in universities. This doesn't mean that we are experts concretely in the topic, but it's just that we are aligned with the vision of trying to include also gender perspective in our universities, to learn which are the best ways to share knowledge, to cooperate with other universities. And therefore, some of the activities that we are implementing in this webinar, on this project, is some webinars, also some capacity building that we will do with students at the end of this year. We will have an academy to teach also around gender perspective to students. So also very welcome if you want to participate. We are trying to also build a global perspective. Like a global perspective, but also a global network. So that's why also we invited different stakeholders here today. We will also be developing some participatory audits to identify gender inequalities and uncover hidden biases in universities. And we will also developing some innovation labs with some community members and students. So yeah, you are very welcome to write us if you want to get to know more about the project. I just want to share, this is a project built by 3 universities: Technische Universität of Dortmund in Germany, University of Thessaly in Greece, and Mondragón University in the Basque Country. And then it's 2011, Martin and myself, and then Dinamia also, a social consultancy in Madrid in Spain. So that being said, and just to understand the context of this webinar, this is just one of the webinars that we've done. We've done some others just with a more closer team that is participating in the project. I know the screen, it's not very clear, but it was just to mention that this is a webinar series, a program that we are working on foundations for equality and rethinking pedagogy and practice in universities. We are also watching institutional change and how to measure also these transformations. And this is one of the webinars, just to mention that we've had more. And also like a deeper understanding on why are we talking about this today and why are we all here? Like, why do we talk about gender at university, or in higher education institutions? And it's also that, like we in the project believe that higher education institutions do not only train professionals, but they also reproduce and can transform different social norms, structures, and relationships, right? And we also want to build a more just and inclusive education system, right? So we are there, we are in the way of learning. We want to also know how are other institutions doing it, how other cultures confront this issue we have nowadays. Yeah, and also for us, it's not just about gender perspective, but we also want to work in around intersectionality, right? Which also includes the different dimensions of identity, which can be also race, class, sexuality, disability, and others. So the idea also of this webinar is not just to focus on gender perspective, but this intersectional dimension. So yeah, that being said, the idea of this 1 hour and a half, it's just we will do a little check-in right now just to activate ourselves. Then we will have the introductions of the panels. We will have some guided questions, and then we want to also open some minutes, the space for all of us here. And then we will close and do the checkout. I just want to ask, I think someone has also the microphone open, so please be sure that you have it silenced. Yeah, and now the check-in. So just let me stop sharing my screen. And also welcome to the new participants. We are already 36 people here, which is an amazing number. Yeah, so I'm launching right now a check-in. I think you will see in your screens, there's a question. The question is, when thinking about how to meaningfully integrate gender perspective into universities or higher education institutions, what area or domain do you find most challenging to address? So us as professionals working at higher education institutions, what do we find more challenging? And I will leave you read the options. Okay, we already have a 75% of the group that have answered. I will give just some seconds more, and then I'll share my screen. Great. Okay, so now I will share my screen. I think you are able to see it, right? Yeah, okay. And 88% of the public here answered to the question. Thank you for that. And now we can see, like what's the most challenging thing we are facing at university when approaching gender perspective. The winning one, like 14 out of 30 people that answered, says that integrating gender perspective into teaching and learning practices are the most challenging one, which means maybe we need also alternatives or methods to know how pedagogically can we implement this activity. Also, embedding gender equality in strategic plans and policies is the following one. Also, developing mechanisms for reporting and addressing gender-based violence or discrimination. And this is a bit the reason why also we were doing some audits in the project. The idea is to also report and measure and know what are the indicators we need to follow up. Then some 4 people answer also that engaging students and as active agents in gender equality efforts is also challenging. Training staff and faculty on gender and intersectionality, we have also 1 person that finds it challenging. And then for the good or for the bad, we don't have people that finds the most challenging one, forming and sustaining a gender task force or committee, which also, yeah, I think that the idea of this check-in is to also understand, also maybe for the panelists, what are the biggest challenges we are facing, and how can we also maybe approach the conversation towards solution thinking, we can say. And now I would love to give the floor sorry, to Professor Dr. Ludwika Leiste. Let me know also, Ludwika, if I'm not pronouncing properly your name, please. Sorry for that. Ludwika is the Deputy Director of the Center of Higher Education at TU Dortmund and member of the CHP Board, which is the Center of Higher Education. In Germany, she is also co-opted professor and teaches at the Department of Business and Economics, where she's also a member at the Department Council, and she's also a member of the Academia Europaea. Now I will give you the floor so you can share your screen, but I think in case we have questions around intersectionality, I think Ludwika could be also the right expert to answer to those because she has quite some expertise on projects including intersectionality at university. So yeah, please, Ludwika, thank you very much for accepting the invitation and very welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for this quick introduction, and also thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Really amazing project that you are now unfolding. And it's really a great pleasure to be part of this international global conversation. So my name is Ludwika Leschita. I'm professor of higher education in Germany, Technological University of Dortmund. I'm also deputy head of higher education center. It's a central center within the university that integrates different departments, service departments that deliver services to students, to teachers, professional development, and so on. And there are 4 professorships within the center as well. And I'm co-opted at the Department of Business and Economics, where I'm teaching diversity and inclusion management at bachelor's level, as well at the master's level. I have seminars on diversity and inclusion in science and technology. So I mention what I'm teaching because it's relevant to what I will be talking about. My areas of expertise are higher education management, higher education governance, but at the same time, my professorship is kind of double-folded. Another one is the didactics of higher education teaching, so innovation in teaching and learning. So today I would like to tell you, what TU Dortmund is doing in terms of gender equality. There are loads of policies, practices. There is Department for Equal Treatment and Family and Inequalities, and there's something equivalent to Gender Equality Plan that has been implemented. Our university is signatory of various charters of diversity, inclusion, and equity in Germany. So it's been really one of those institutions that has been super proactive in terms of gender equality. Just to mention our last rectorate, out of 5 people had 4 women, which is incredible for a technological university. So I think there are many good things to be said about what has been happening in terms of gender mainstreaming in our university. At the same time, I'm here not to show good practices. I'm here to also kind of provide discussion and critical insights, therefore, and also to introduce projects that are going on. So I would like to highlight one of the projects that we are in the moment working on. It's Erasmus Plus.
Sorry, Ludwika, sorry to interrupt you. You are not sharing your screen in case you would like to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me just share it. So
okay, perfect.
It's there. Yeah, right. Full screen. You can see it.
Perfect.
So the project I would like to share today with you is Intersectionality in Higher Education, InterHead projects, and that's a teaching and research project that orients to innovate our teaching and learning practices. So this challenge that you mentioned regarding to implement gender dimension in teaching and learning, this is exactly what we are looking at, but we're not looking at gender perspective only, we look at intersectionality. So look at different dynamics that are at the intersections of different axes of inequality in higher education. So this is a project that has 4 partners. The lead is in Catalonia, a big university, and we have a Polish partner and also French partner. We aim to advance inclusive and diverse higher education institutions by promoting intersectional mainstreaming in higher education teaching and learning. So what we are looking is how to identify agents of change and how to work with students as well as with staff, how to develop staff, so train staff, teaching staff into intersectionality and intersectional meanings and mainstreaming in different disciplines in order to advance institutional change. So to make change happen also at the organizational level. And scholars of higher education know how difficult it is to really make organizational learning happen from micro level to meso level and from meso level to macro level within the organization, right? What kind of mechanisms work? So we can have a fantastic policy, fantastic regulation that will not work. And it will be window dressing and everyone says, yes, we comply, but in fact, there will be decoupling because we know universities are decoupled organizations. So in this context, the aim of the Interhead is the short version of the title of the project, is to create and implement innovative challenge-based methodologies to engage teaching staff and students from diverse social groups and disciplines, to generate interdisciplinary transferable knowledge to mainstream intersectionality in teaching and learning practices, and to raise awareness among stakeholders on the importance of intersectionality in higher education teaching and learning in the 4 different national contexts. I don't want to go here in details, but our basically specific objectives are to create new methodologies for teaching staff training, as well as for group work for students, right? So to do 2 types of methodologies in order to create a toolkit for mainstreaming intersectionality, to create innovative methodologies report, promising practices, a kind of resource collection, and at the end of the project to come up with policy recommendations and report. So I will start with the professional development workshops. We did 2 of those in each of the countries already. So the aim of the professional development workshops was to develop innovative methodologies to get kind of common understanding of intersectionality in different higher education settings. And this means curriculum, teaching methodology, learning environments, and assessments. So there are 4 different areas within the teaching and learning that we are looking at. What we have to say is that it's been really very fascinating to engage and discuss and explore what are the issues, how to define intersectionality, what kind of gender, disability, LGBTQ plus, age-related issues are happening, and also what are disciplinary differences in this regard. So what we do, we have situated learning through use of training and work groups in which students and teachers from different disciplines, here is the whole list of them, participate. The review of existing academic literature was done on pedagogy and intersectionality in different disciplines, and the participatory observation is taking place in evaluation of all activities that we are proposing. So there are quite a few of the results, but the ones that we have already kind of developed, and we will be announcing and disseminating it rather shortly, is promising practices collection as well as innovative methodologies report. I will here maybe focus on the first one, a compilation of pedagogical projects that can become models for applying intersectional practices in higher education contexts due to their approach and content. The result draws on mutual learning internal training session, the promising practices collection and workshop with students and teaching staff. So we try to combine the lessons learned from all our workshops with staff and with students and across different 4 settings, and kind of distill kind of examples that can be used in also different higher education settings that raise awareness of intersectionality among the students and also among the teachers. So here are the 2 websites. You can check them out. The UVic website is more general website of the project, and the TU Dortmund website is more the German type of section of the project. So this is just very shortly to raise awareness what has been happening with the project. Here, the last one, I would like just to show maybe coming back to the gender, or focus on gender, just to give you a few examples what University of Dortmund is doing to really increase gender mainstreaming. So one of the very important things is women's quota in the rectorate, as well as women quota in the faculty councils. This is really important to be kind of represented at different levels and different kind of not only committees, but also decision-making bodies. Also, there's a dual career service, and also there is focus on equality and different genders when it comes to doctoral students. And there is a lot of initiatives at the graduate school that focus on career development programs for everyone, of course, from our body, but especially for the female candidates. I will stop there because I know the time is running. So if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Ludvika, for your presentation. I don't know if anyone has any question because we will then open the open dialogue with Ines, Jennifer, and Iruna, but Ludvika needs to leave a bit earlier. So in case anyone has any concrete question for her, you can leave it on the chat or you can raise your virtual hand. Meanwhile, maybe I had a little question, Ludvika, if you could answer. From the project that you've been already implementing, like what have been maybe the main challenges regarding institutional structures that you could find? Or
Yes, thank you. So the key challenge, of course, is a loosely coupled organization of, as we know, universities are. So, different departments, and in this case, the different professorships would not necessarily talk to each other and collaborate with each other. So if you want to spread your innovation in the university, you have to have collaborations. You have to have, people talking to each other. And that's the main challenge in spreading innovations on any topic in the university. So diversity and inclusion is not an exception. It's really, really difficult to make sure that there is a kind of cross-cutting interest in the topic where different professorships in the German system, but in other systems would be departments, different departments would be engaging in the same kind of initiative and really going into dialogue about, what kind of solutions are there. So these structural kind of borders, disciplinary borders, I think is one of the big challenges that we can also see in our project.
Great. And also another small question I have. When implementing also workshops and training with students, how do you face it? I mean, do you work by department and by disciplines, or is it possible, or is it happening that you can mix different disciplines so you can also tackle in a more transversal way?
Yeah, so since, as you know, Erasmus project has very little money, so it's not the project where you can make a sweeping change across the whole institution. It will not happen, right? But what we do is basically we implement changes in the courses where we are teaching ourselves, where we can really access the students. And we have, as I listed, different disciplines covered in our project. So in my case, I have business administration and economics students as well as engineering students because they are allowed to take my classes, logistics students as well. In our teacher training, professional development workshops, we had the whole range of disciplines covered. So because everyone can sign up for it from any discipline. So this run we had architecture, engineering, sociology, rural design, business administration, all sorts of business administration, economics, and languages, right? So there was a big range of disciplines, but with the student workshops, the Polish partner, for example, focuses on sociology. The Catalan partner focuses on communication, but also languages, also sports, and also if I remember correctly, was also sociology and political science covered. So they were going to different disciplines, colleagues that were collaborating together and working on the workshops with students from different disciplines. That was the approach they used. So at the moment we have covered in Catalan case 120 students from different disciplines. In our case in Dortmund, there were less students because they are more disciplinary, how to say, they are more related to my professorship, what I am teaching. So it's around 30 students. And in the Polish case, they had around 130 students, mainly from sociology, but now joining also from political science.
Great. Thank you, Ludvika, for that explanation. I think it also helps us to imagine how can we really make it happen, when implementing the activities. Yeah, if anyone has any question for Ludvika, maybe you can leave it on the chat. And meanwhile, we will keep on going with the webinar. But thank you for the participation and hope we can also talk soon about the results of both projects.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm really thrilled to be part of here and also to hear about your findings and also challenges, because I can imagine there can be some small overlaps when it comes to student workshops.
Great. Thank you, Ludvika. Also, sorry, because I think that my microphone is not working well sometimes. So I hope you can hear me well. If not, just write me on the chat. Yeah, so we will go now to the second panelist. So welcome, hola Inés, Inés Sánchez de Madariaga. She's a professor of planning and adjunct director at ECHAM, that is the Higher Technical School of Architecture in Madrid, at the Polytechnic University of Madrid. She's a visiting scholar at Harvard University. She's also UNESCO chair on gender equality policies in science, technology, and innovation, and member of the Spanish Network for Sustainable Development. We know that Inés is always also around the globe. She's an expert panelist. You are also very aware of the global agenda related to this topic. We know you have a lot of network there, so we will love to hear what you have to tell us. So welcome, Inés, and thank you for participating. You can share your screen if you want. You are on mute. You are on mute. I requested for your audio. We are seeing the presentation like in 3 pieces, like before. So, but we cannot hear you, Inés. Your audio is. You need to unmute your microphone.
What about now?
Now we can hear you.
Now I think you can see my screen well. Is that right?
Now, yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for this invitation. I will give a perspective from the University of Madrid, but in the context of Spanish experience and in the context of the European policies on gender equality for higher education, because for a while I was the director of the Women and Science Unit in the cabinet of the Spanish Ministry.
No.
Can you hear me well? Yes, hi Alice. Yes, I'm going to bring this wider European perspective and Spanish perspective and to look at those from our experience now at the university in Madrid, which is a Spanish technological university. So for this, we need to understand that we have in Spain a legislation on science and technology in which I worked when I was in the ministry, that has a number of requirements and policies that are integrated into legislation. And this Spanish legislation developed in 2011, that has been then expanded in subsequent science legislations and policies in higher education, has also informed and been a very important example for what has then been developed at the European level. I was a very active agent on that when I was a member of the Helsinki Group of Women in Science in the European Commission. And this is a very short summary of what our national legislation requires in terms of gender equality in education. So the issue of statistics that are produced both by the ministry and by universities, required balanced representations of women and men in committees, and also in positions within the government systems of universities. Mechanisms to reduce bias and barriers are required. Gender equality action plans in research institutions are required, and also the existence of gender equality units in institutions, integration of gender and sex analysis in research and innovation content, and also in educational programs in higher education curriculum, at all stages of the research process. Funding for gender and women studies is provided, and also for gender and women educational programs, such as masters, and the gender equality units are required by the education legislation. So this is in the context of the European policy and legal context that was strengthened, as I said, in subsequent research programs. In Europe, this legislation comes through research, because Europe does not have direct competences on education, but it does have on research institutions, and universities are both research and education. So it's important to understand how Europe can do so many things because it has a competence on research. So it's a political priority of the European Commission through a number of communications that have been enacted throughout the years. And support to the implementation of gender equality plans in research has been provided by European programs that have given money to subsequent generations that have involved over 200 research institutions, mostly of them universities, whose gender equality plans have been supported with European funding. Our plan at the University of Madrid, Technical University of Madrid, has been funded by these European programs. This is modeled after an American program of the National Science Foundation called Advanced. And so we have also a very important contribution of Europe, which is the She Figures that has been published in 2003, that produces the statistics of men and women throughout a research institution in Europe, and that is being required and is being evaluated through the European Research Area Progress Report. And gender equality is understood as strengthening the potential of research and education because inequalities persist. So the Commission has been continuously reinforcing these policies, even if in this last there are now some challenges, political challenges, because in the new European Commission, equality was reduced in rank within the political organization of the Commission, but probably these programs for science will be kept. So the Council conclusions, which is the European governance that represents the ministers, that marks the policy on research and innovation, calls that the European Commission and Member States to agree on priority actions as part of an ERA policy agenda, including all these domains. So these are inputs that the European Commission, that both Member States and the European Commission are required to continue supporting. And as you can see, to advance measures to ensure the allocation of research funding is not affected by gender bias is one of those. So this was integrated into the programs, to the research programs in these three areas. The gender that research institutions, that is universities, have a research equality plan is a criterion for eligibility for European funding. That's very important. If you don't have an equality plan, you are not eligible for European research funding. The integration of the gender criteria dimension in the research project is a criteria for award, and gender balance in research teams and in PIs is a ranking criteria. So let's unfold these three aspects of the European policy in research. Regarding gender equality plan, it's an eligibility criterion, so it's obligatory and it's applicable since 2022. So universities, when they apply for European funding, they have to produce a self-declaration at the proposal stage that they do have in place an equality plan, and that and then it includes an entity validation process. These plans have certain process requirements that are mandatory. It has to be, the plan has to be a public document. It has to include dedicated resources. It has to include data collection and monitoring, and it has to include training and capacity building. So in order to receive European funding, universities have to have all these, with all these further details into their gender equality plans. And regarding content, this is recommended. The other was required, this is recommended. It's recommended that the plans have work-life balances and address organizational cultures, that gender balance in leadership and decision-making is included in the plan, that gender equality in recruitment and career progression is included in the plan, that gender is integrated in dimension, the gender dimension is integrated in research and in teaching content, and there are measures addressing gender violence, including sexual harassment. So This is all this information regarding this is facilitated by the European Commission, so that universities have tools and helps to develop this. Regarding the data that is part of this in Spain, we do have this is a tool that I started developed when I was in the ministry, and it's produced every 2 years by the ministry. It's the data on Spanish scientists, which is modeled more and more consistent and coherent with the European she figures, which is produced every 3 years. This is like the summary of the Spanish document, with all these chapters that explain in very detailed produced data that goes from the scientific vocation, participatory in the labor markets, participation of women researchers, and the career, the political, the scientific agenda, and the equality policies. I will show you just quickly some of these graphs and data, including, for instance, this one, which is the glass ceiling by area of knowledge that is produced for every university in Spain, or the number of universities that have an ongoing gender equality plan. And you see that most of them do have them. The public universities, except 6%, all of them do have a gender equality plan. Among the private universities, 30% don't have yet a gender equality plan. Many of them are already in their second, third, or even fourth gender equality plans. So the Spanish higher education system has a lot of experience already in drafting and implementing plans. And some of them have, this document also includes an analysis of the sort of policies and measures that the plans include. And these are some of the data from the she figures that show the distribution of a number of data throughout European countries. All this research shows that the key barriers that we know: leisure and personal and professional support, the gender stereotypes in research, and the gender bias in evaluation of quality and merit. We did this study on the situation of women in Spanish science that shows that a key area of gender inequality is gender bias in the evaluation. This is consistent with these very famous studies by Veneras and Vold that was published so many years ago. But it's important to stress that this is still a factor, and that women have to have many more merits than men to produce the same evaluation. And then regarding the issue of content, the Gender Innovation website that the European Commission produced and that has been updated recently with so many case studies, that is a very interesting tool to support the integration of gender issues and gender dimensions into higher education programs. In our school, in our university in Madrid, I have been teaching since 2010 a course at master's level on gender and planning. The experience of teaching this course for 15 years now, this was the first master's course in a planning program in Europe and probably internationally. It's a full-blown one-semester course. When I started teaching it 15 years ago, the kind of students and their interests was very different from what's happening now. Because 15 years ago, this was really something that was unheard of, and there was no awareness of the topic of gender among professors or amongst university or students. So the students who would register for the class, they found it as one of the optional courses, and they didn't have any background. They didn't know anything about what it was. And now, because it has become a mainstream, let's say, it's an accepted area of research, of teaching, of practice. It has become a topic of relevance. the students come with very different backgrounds, very different interests, and this totally has transformed the way the course I have to teach the course, you say, with different challenges too, because many of the students have with certain ideas that they have picked up on social media, and mostly on social media. It also happens that some students come with an idea that they want to apply this in practical, in an immediate way, and they want like recipes, but they don't want to go deeper into more academic understandings of what's at stake. They want something more practical. And then there are people who come with personal interest and personal consideration. So there's a very diversity motivations for the students, which make it quite a big challenge to teach this class today. So I leave it here. And I have also, in terms of teaching, because it was the main topic of interest at the beginning of this seminar, I'm also finding that many of my colleagues, 15 years ago, nobody cared about this at all. But now, many of my colleagues are integrating issues related to gender in their mainstream classes. And my colleagues, it's not that they know anything about this, they don't know much, but they pick a few documents and they start to raise the issue among their in mainstream, in many different courses, in undergraduate and postgraduate in the Architectural School of Madrid. So this is a good thing, but it also raises issues as to the training and how this content is being introduced by people who don't necessarily have the expertise yet.
Thank you very much, Ines. This is super relevant, actually, the European framework also to know what's already there. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. What can be used, right? What are the frameworks that we can use? What's also how it developed during the years? Also, the topic you said, the planning area also. We at 2011 have also different courses on gender perspective and sustainable development. Actually, we have today also in the session some people that are experts on the topic that are learning a lot. So for us, it's also a big priority. And how do we also create like safe and inclusive spaces around? So that's a very interesting topic. We have a question later for you, but then we will first give the word to Jennifer. Actually, I will share my screen. Thank you, Ines. Thanks a lot for your presentation. And we will keep on going with you later. So welcome, Jennifer Avalos Carrasco. She is the director of the Gender, Diversity and Equity Department at the University of Santiago de Chile. She is an associate professor at the Faculty of Chemistry and Biology, pharmacist also with a PhD in pharmacology, and certified lifestyle medicine professional by the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you very much for being here with us, and we are very delighted to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation and for having me here. I'm going to share my presentation first. So let me share. Okay, it is okay?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you say, my name is Dr. Jennifer Avalos. I'm a pharmacist. I obtained a PhD in pharmacology, and also I'm a certified professional in lifestyle medicine. I currently serve as a director of the Gender, Diversity and Equity Department, and also I'm an associate professor in the Department of Biology at the Faculty of Chemistry and Biology. And since receiving the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Award in 2015, I've been actively engaged in promoting gender equality, specifically, I think, in STEM fields. And now that I'm working here in this department. So first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the institutionalization of gender equality at the University of Santiago de Chile. This has been a progressive and strategic process over the past decade, I think. And you can see this timeline where we can highlight key milestones in the creation of policies, units, and frameworks. For example, we have this non-sexist language in academic degrees since 10 or 11 years ago, the creation of this Gender Diversity and Equity Department in 2018, and some protocols against sexual harassment, gender-based violence, and the recognition of gender identity, also like 7 years ago. In 2022, we promote this gender equality and diversity policy, and I think that finally we last year we had the creation of different gender and diversity offices in different faculties in order to decentralize, I think, the implementation of gender policies. So each of these initiatives reflects the university's commitment to build a non-sexist, inclusive, and rights-based academic community. So our department plays a leading and strategic role in development of implementation, monitoring, and also evaluation of gender policies, gender equality plans, and related programs. And we are guided by international human rights standards and critical intersectional perspective. And we aim to challenge and transform structures that reproduce and produce gender-based inequalities, but also heteronormativity, racism, ableism, and other forms of systemic exclusion and manifestation of power. So in order to do that, we have 4 strategic areas. The first one, that is gender-based violence. And here we work in measures to prevent and address gender-based violence and discrimination, including support services, awareness campaigns, and also institutional protocols to ensure, at least to try to ensure, a safe and inclusive environment. Also, we have this second area, the gender institutionalization and mainstreaming, in which we try to integrate this gender dimension across all the university structures and also main core functions, including, for example, gender-sensitive research and teaching content, the promotion of work-life balance, gender balance in leadership and decision-making bodies, the recognition and respect of sexual and gender diversity, between others. Also, we have like 2 years, I think, this Observatory of Gender and Diversity in order to promote the data collection and analysis with gender perspective, institutional, but also the comparison with the national level in order to inform evidence-based decision-making at the university. And also we have this area of advocacy and public incidence, since we think that advancing gender equality is needed, or we need the articulation with public policy, with civil society, and also with community organizations. So now I'm going to will provide an overview of these, or each of these working areas. First one, the prevention and eradication of gender-based violence remains, I think, a cornerstone of our institutional agenda. We provide psycholegal support to victims of sexual harassment, violence, and discrimination based on gender identity, sexual orientation, or gender expression. Also, we work to ensure that all members of the university, I mean, students, staff, and also faculties, have access to these support services, and also know the procedures and the institutional protections. In addition, we carry out different awareness raising and sensitization activities to prevent gender-based violence, also challenge gender stereotypes and socially constructed roles based on sex or gender, and also we work to promote the rights of the LGBTQ+ community. And also we receive this request for the recognition and use of social name according to the gender identity in the university. Regarding to the psycholegal support, we offer a confidential, non-judgmental orientation and assistance to any student, professor, faculty, worker, staff person who has experienced gender-based violence. And these include guidance on the complaint and investigation processes, And also we provide referrals to different internal and external support services like social services, academic support, psychological and mental health issues, and also legal support. And finally, we coordinate all the institutional reparation actions for victim survivors of this JBV. In the second area, that is gender institutionalization and mainstreaming, well, to advance in both of these, we are currently working in these initiatives. The first one is the decentralization of gender policy implementation. And for this, we have the establishment of gender and diversity offices within each faculty and administrative unit. And the idea here is to ensure a context-sensitive application of these policies across the institution. And also the second strategy is the development of gender-sensitive policies and the integration of a gender perspective into the strategic instruments of the university. For example, right now we are working in the proposal of an institutional policy on work-life balance and social co-responsibility for care in order to promote gender equality, and also in the updating of the institutional educational model, incorporating explicitly, I think, gender equality, diversity, and inclusion as a cross-cutting principles that foster this non-sexist and inclusive teaching environments and practices, and also research. And also we are participating in the institutional accreditation process in order to incorporate this gender perspective in all the process, the entire process, and also comply with new legal requirements in this area. Also, we are engaged in some inter-university project aimed at building institutional capacities to implement this standards-based model for gender equality and non-discrimination across all core mission areas. And this is a project of the 18 public universities here in Chile. And also we offer some training courses and resources designed to promote gender-sensitive academic practices. And these are directed to faculties, staff, and also to students. For example, we have some guidelines to promote a non-sexist and inclusive communication, foster gender-sensitive teaching processes, and also guidelines to apply a gender-sensitive approach in calls for applications in R&D. Also, as I told you before, we have this Observatory of Gender and Diversity, and this is a functional unit that generates, systematize, and analyze quantitative and also qualitative data with gender perspective in different areas, for example, or including these organizational gender inequalities and gaps, perception of gender-based violence and discrimination, work-life balance, also study life balance, and institutional support mechanisms, and also LGBTQ plus inclusion and related issues. So, for example, you can see here some studies that we performed last year and this year related to the access to higher education with gender perspective, and also some studies in violence. This observatory also monitor and evaluate the gender-related policies, plans, programs, and protocols. That is the idea, to promote evidence-based decision-making to authorities here in the university. Also, we contribute to the university quality management systems through gender-informed approaches and also indicators. And finally, we provide guidance on integrated gender perspective in the design, execution, and also data analysis of research projects. So I think that through the Observatory of Gender and Diversity, we produce some strategic knowledge that I think that serves to advance in gender equality, sexual and gender diversity here in the university, and also to take better decisions, I think. And finally, we understand that advancing gender equality requires the collaboration beyond the university. So in this area, we work with others. We are building strategic alliances with national and international networks. So, for example, I have here two aims, I think. Maybe the participation in national and international networks of gender departments in higher education. I mean, the Council of Rectors of Chilean Universities, also the Consortium of Chilean Public Universities, and, for example, the Association of Universities of the Montevideo Group. And also we engage with local and territorial stakeholders like civil society organization, municipal gender and diversity offices, and regional governments. And here I have an example. There is a program that is called Visibles, which means visible, seeable, observable, I think in English. And this program is a pioneering initiative in Chile, and which which objective is promoting the rights and improving the quality of life of the LGBTQ plus community in Santiago. This is a project funded by the regional government, approved by the regional council, and it is executed by us in our department. And we have 4 strategic components. That is the strengthening community leadership and advocacy skills. Um, eh, I think by empowering these community leaders through advocacy and leadership training. Also, the second component is the human rights education and awareness, providing education and awareness raising of the human rights of LGBTQ individuals. And also the third component is promoting inclusive social services through the facilitation or to facilitate the access to health, legal support, and other social services, and also vocational training and job placement. This last one is specifically directed to non-binary and trans people here in the metropolitan region. And so with this experience, I think that we have some main challenges and also some lessons that we learned this year. So first, as some challenges, I think that is the persistent resistance to gender mainstreaming in strategic areas. Specifically, I think in teaching, I think that is the most difficult area. Also, the lack of institutional decision-making with gender and diversity perspective, limited integration of gender perspective into teaching, research, and curriculum design. We think that there is an urgent need to develop institutional capacities in other teams beyond the gender units. We lack of gender-responsive budgeting across institutional planning and decision-making. So I think that is a critical area too. We also have gender gap in academic career progression, specifically or is more evident in male-dominated disciplines. Another challenge is this decentralization of the gender policies and practices in different units. And I think that the last one is the most difficult to address. There is this cultural resistance in academia based in the myth of meritocracy, the scientific objectivity, and the success-driven ableist logics. So I think that is too deep in the core of the university. So I think that maybe that is the most difficult challenge. And also we have maybe a few learnings, like the importance of the strategical partnership, internal but also external, the importance of persuading, guiding, and supporting the academic units to adopt this gender mainstreaming practice instead of being just the gender police, I think. That is extremely important to the institutionalization of the gender equality initiative in order to secure long-term impact and also organizational commitment. I think that is important also to recognize and working with the existing institutional culture. And it's necessary, I think, to reinforce the mechanism for reparation, but with a focus on social and community engagement more than an individual reparation. That is what we do now. So I think that the main lesson is that the gender equality is not a parallel, separate agenda. It is a matter of human rights, and also is a fundamental condition for academic excellence, social relevance, and also democratic education. So finally, this is how you can contact us. And I want to extend our gratitude for this opportunity to share our journey here. And also, I ready to all your questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks a lot for your presentation. I think it was amazing. Congrats also for all the work done, because I think that in one of the first slides when you show, like all the things that have been done in few years. It's a lot. Also for us, it's the University of Santiago de Chile. It's a reference regarding this topic, so it was also great to have you here and hear from like a close perspective. Also, as you said, it's super important to connect to each other and to learn from the people that are already doing things. So also I encourage you here to write. We can use the chat, to connect. We can write publicly, but we can also write individually to people, just to so you know that in the chat you can choose to whom do you want to send the message. So you have that option. And also maybe we can discuss it later, but something you said, like gender perspective should not be something that it's coming apart. And also the project that we are building on this topic should not be something that we create and just runs while we have the funding, no, as the project we are running on, and the one that also Ludvika shared at the beginning. Hopefully we can create projects that can sustain in the long term. And maybe we can later talk about the keys for that. Maybe Juliana, do you have a question? And then we go with Rune, if that's fine.
Thank you, Malo, and thank you, Jennifer, for the very complete presentation and all the work that you and your team are doing. It's amazing, really. I have a question more specific, if you could maybe extend a bit. I'm also from Chile, so also I'm very interested of what is being done there, but I'm based in Germany right now. About the work-life balance and the social co-responsibility policies that you are working on, if you could share maybe like the more practical terms, how has that been implemented, if it has been? And also like a follow-up question about that, if you could share who has been more resistant to this in terms of groups, maybe like faculty, staff, students, and if you have had any approach to that resistance, how has that been? Thank you again.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think that maybe I'm going to answer the question in backwards. I think maybe with the resistance. I think that the resistance is multi-level. Combining the political will, I think that there is something very important in our universities. I think, but. We can, I think that we have some strategies that include the create alliances. And in this work-life balance and co-responsibility policy, we work with students, with staff, and also with faculties. We create one model in order to promote this co-responsibility, considering the right to take care and being care, and also the right to study and also to work in with equal opportunities. And for that, we also consider like sensitization as a key component of this model in order to promote a sustained change, and not only something that can maybe resolve the problem right now, but also to promote I don't know, organizational cultural change, I think. But I think that the most important part of this is that we work with people. We work with different associations, with the students, with the staff, and I think that that is the key. I don't know, the key alliances to promote something like that. And the resistance have been, I think, more in another level that have with the implementation, with the resources. So for that reason, I think that the gender budgeting is so crucial to this. So yeah, I don't know if I answer your question or not. Well, okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Juliana, for the question, and thank you, Jennifer, for the quick response also. Maybe you can prepare also some questions for the end. We just have 20 minutes left, so I would like to give.
Malo, you muted yourself.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I was just saying that I wanna welcome, thank you for Juliana and Jennifer for the answer and the question. And now Irune Martinez, welcome. Thank you and thanks a lot for coming here. I know you need to leave sharp in 20 minutes. So yeah, she's a legislative advisor and former gender advisor and at the Undersecretariat of Higher Education of Chile, and a lawyer specialized in gender, human rights, and public policy. So welcome. I would like to give you directly the floor. I think it's very connected with some of the challenges that has mentioned Jennifer. So I think you can also, like spontaneously try to maybe keep on that conversation if you feel like.
Thank you, Malu. Yes, actually, with Jennifer, we have met in other places and initiatives. So it's very nice to have you here, and thank you for having me. I will share a small presentation, but actually, I think as Malu was saying, that this speaks very close to what Jennifer was talking about, but also Jennifer's university is a very advanced one in Chile. So we have challenges that are abroad in Santiago's university, but not in other universities, and other challenges that are common to our education, superior education system. So higher education system. So first, I'm sorry if my English is not that good. I will try to be as clear as I can. So I want to speak a little about the progresses and the challenges in the integration of gender perspective in public policies in higher education in Chile, but I think that some of these challenges are common to other countries as well, as I was listening in the presentations before. So as Malu was saying, I'm Irene Martinez. I'm the legislative advisor in the higher education undersecretary in Chile, and I'm the former gender advisor. So when we take this responsibility to assume the higher education undersecretary, we thought about how to promote gender mainstreaming in the higher education modernization agenda that we are promoting, right? So the first challenge was not to build an agenda that was in the side of the general agenda, but to try to integrate the gender perspective in our agenda in general. So not trying to put it on the side, but to be in the center of our challenges, right? So in this responsibility, we try to address 4 main challenges. There are others, but there are 4 that are very important in our country. The eradication of gender-based violence, as Jennifer was saying, this is something that is very important in our country, and it's because, and in the line that Jennifer showed, that you can see that 2018 is a very important year, and that is because we have a very important feminist movement that was the Feminist May in the higher education system. So universities have a very strong feminist movement that was mostly about gender-based violence. So some of our higher education institutions, as the Santiago University, have already protocols and other policies, but most of our higher education institutions, we also address not just universities, but also technical institutions. They didn't have much advance in this area. Also, another challenge very important was the gender institutionalization, and this is not just because it's a very important thing to address, but also, as I will tell a little after, we have a legislation, the law against sexual harassment, gender-based violence and discrimination that we had to implement in this period. And this legislation is a very robust one that mandate to have department and units and policies, comprehensive policies. Also, we have a very important report, which is the gender gap report that we publish every year since 2012. And of course, as in other countries, women in STEM is a very important challenge, and we have a very important gap in that area, not just in investigation, or but also in students that enter to university. And the fourth challenge is care responsibilities. As Jennifer was saying, social co-responsibility and the address of care responsibilities was something that wasn't very advanced before. So just to speak a little about our legislation, we have a law against sexual harassment, gender-based violence and discrimination in higher education, which was promoted in 2021. So we had to implement this very important law, I think, because as I was saying, it's a law that was the result of a social movement in universities. So the objective of this law is to build comprehensive policies to prevent and eradicate gender-based violence on higher education institutions, such as universities. And the purpose of this law is to create safe environments free from gender-based violence. So as you can see, it's a very ambitious purpose, right? And this law establish the right to study and work in spaces free from gender violence, gender-based violence and discrimination, and also establish the duty of universities to adopt and implement comprehensive policies against sexual harassment, gender-based violence and discrimination. Something that is very important is that this law creates two models, a preventive model and a reactive model. The preventive model establishes some measures that are a minimum to every university, such as a diagnosis, actualization of the policies, communication, gender content on curriculum, and other things that, as you can see, prevent gender violence by promoting gender equality. So that is very important because it doesn't separate gender-based violence from the promotion of gender equality, but try to comprehend that gender-based violence is a product of the gender inequality. And also it has a reactive model, which is the established protocols, or mandate to establish protocols to investigate and sanction cases, and also to protect and repair victims. These two models have different departments and units. Because before of the promote of this legislation, all the work in universities was directed to react to cases. So the preventive measures and the measures to promote gender equality were less crucial in the universities' work. So this law mandated to have these two models and these two units separate. Also, it's very important because it's very mandatory. We have this our superintendency had to fiscalize that universities implement this law and these policies, and also our quality agency had to acknowledge or to review if universities actually implement these policies in order to give the university the accreditation. So it's very mandatory.
Irune, just to say that we have a couple of minutes to close, just in case.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
So just to try to address how we had to speak how we address these measures. This is our system. In our system, universities have autonomy, so we have to promote the implementation of these measures and others. So we create an intersectoral commission with all the institutions, the government and the state's institutions, and to collaborate with universities in the implementation of this law. We create guidelines for the implementation of comprehensive policies. We create courses to train communities that are free. But also we create alliances of female university and with female university rectors and with the departments and the units of gender units to coordinate and support. And also this need funding. As we were talking, and we provide funding to address these obligations. So just to very shortly address our other challenges, we create the policy that is called More Women in Scientists, plus MC, as we say, that ensure the representation of women in STEM programs by creating additional seats through the centralized admission system. We have a centralized admission system, so we ensure or we create these additional seats. Universities may offer additional places for women in STEM programs, and this is the second year that we we implement this policy, and 32 universities joined the policy, offering 2,836 seats across 474 programs. This is very important because, and this is very short, but the representation of women, female applicants, and women admitted have a very important increase with this politics, but not just with this policy, but because women choose to enter and actually enter not with these vacancies, but with the regular admission. So this policy gives them the power and the confidence to try to apply to these programs. And we have women and plus 16% of women admitted on the year 2024, and in this year, well, that is incorrect in the lamin, but on the admission 2025, this admission, we have a plus 15% of women admitted in these programs. So now I'm finished with the last challenge, how to address care responsibilities in higher education. We are promoting a law that is called I Care Study that promotes social co-responsibility and study conditions for students with care responsibilities. The social co-responsibility policy that Jennifer tell us before is something that is not very common in universities and in other higher education institutions. So this law will promote that every university has these policies. And also we are promoting qualification, the recognition, certification, and continuity of studies for caregivers, so they can enter to higher education programs to that recognize that their knowledge in care is something that can then be certificate and actually, and they can pursue a career in programs such as infirmary, health. Sorry. So these are some public policies that we are encouraging, but we have some challenges. We actually have some movement, some feminist movement now, universities insisting in gender-based violence, which is something that a law can address, but we have still challenges there, and also in social co-responsibility. The law that we are promoting is not yet promulgated, so we have to work to do that, to address that. And also, as we were saying, I think that in teaching and learning is something that is very difficult. We are trying to address that challenge with the universities, but it's something that is still a challenge that is very difficult to address and to actually incorporate as a problem. If so, well, yeah, that is some things about Chile, and
Okay.
I will try to be a little more minutes to address some of your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Irune. It was very nice to see also another perspective, more from the legal and government side. We have just a couple of minutes left. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we can take 5 minutes more if that's fine. If not, of course, leave if you need to leave. But I wanted to open the space directly. I had some questions there, but of course, I think the priority is you. So everyone that has any question, you can raise your hand. We still have here with us Jennifer, Irune, and Ines, I think. Yeah, also Ines here. So please feel free to make your questions. You can raise your hand, your virtual hand, or you can also write them in the chat. And if you don't have questions, okay. Yeah, Karina?
Yeah, thanks a lot for all the presentations. They were very interesting. I was thinking about the second presentation, sorry, the third with Jennifer, about the observatories. I think it's a very interesting mechanism. I think it's more common or popular in Latin America, but maybe you can say a bit of that. You use this at different Chilean universities, right? Or is it more a regional or a national level?
Okay. Well, we analyzed first like internal information in our registers and access and everything, but we compare our numbers with or our indicators with the national system mostly. But our observatory are two people in the direction only. But yeah, we work like performing different studies in different areas of the university, and our idea is to be like a cornerstone in the and how you can see the higher education with gender perspective. That is our aim, I think, our vision.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Karina. Does anyone has any other question? I also wanted to launch one, and I will share my screen because we had also this, just that we don't have time, but for Ines also, it was how do you see the evolution of universities globally in terms of gender equality? Like you maybe talked a bit about the European Union framework, but generally speaking, since you are also traveling to a lot of countries and conferences, what's the evolution? What's the tendencies? What are the main, yeah.
Well, I see that there is a positive evolution. That's without doubt. There's a positive evolution also in terms of the policies. We have seen now a number of policies, for instance, in Latin America, that maybe didn't exist just 10 years ago. I think, and also with a particular focus that put care at center stage, which is also a new thing. And also the issue of harassment, which used to be a separate thing. Harassment was separate. And in Europe, it has become a central topic of policies in higher education only in the last 10 years. When I started working on these issues in 2010, sexual harassment was not in the center of equality policies in education. It became around the year 2015. So we are seeing a shifting also in the nature and focus of policies. So I tend to be optimistic always. So I see that there is a very positive evolution in women's participation across everything that you look at. Maybe what remains is still a bit of segregation in certain areas, in technological areas, but also there are many geographical variations in this. It's not homogeneous if you look at it in global terms. And you would be surprised to see that some of the countries with greater participation in technological areas are countries with less gender equality in social terms across the board. So issues can be quite complex in terms and have different historical reasons, and also the way that gender and class intersects, and also religious issues in some countries can lead to very different outcomes that are not what you would expect initially. But I see a very positive evolution.
Thank you, Ines. Juliana, I think you have a question.
Yeah, I have a short question for both Irune and Jennifer about maybe following up with what Ines was saying about seeing other perspectives, other challenges. Have you worked either Jennifer in the university and Irune in the subsecretaría or as a asesora in cooperation with other countries, not specifically with the EU, but maybe from the region in these topics?
So I can start. Well, yes, we as in the government, we have a strong collaboration. Actually, with Spain, we have strong collaboration. I traveled a couple of years ago to speak about this legislation and these public policies, and we are trying to collaborate, but not just collaborate as government. Actually, in Chile, also with Colombia as an example, in the government with Colombia as an example in the region, but we try to also help to universities to create alliances and collaboration. So, because as I was saying, and you know, especially in Latin America, universities they have autonomy, so that it's very important that they build their own alliances. So we try to help universities to address that challenge as well. And also, I think that, as Ines was saying, there are some challenges that maybe for us are more are new, but also are the main question in the policies the last years, as harassment, because of the social movement that we had in 2018. And that built this very robust legislation that it was new, but it was the most advanced one. So that is something that I think that is very interesting to know how in different countries, different moments and movements can address a very explosive advance on public policies. And as Jennifer was saying, in a few years, you can address very important policies. And that to share their experiences is very important for government, but I think that for universities are probably more important. So now I let Jennifer to address that.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to talk about two things that I think that are the most important obstacles and challenges, I think, but maybe I don't know if they are related to your question. So if I'm talking something else, please let me know. Okay, but I think there are two things. First, why it's so difficult to incorporate the gender perspective, for example, in the teaching in these core areas of university. And I think that it is a combination of a structural and cultural epistemological, and institutional barriers. And I think that is because there is an epistemological resistance to the illusion of neutrality. I think that when you talk about gender perspective, you are questioning the knowledge. And there is this idea of knowledge is universal and is objective and also is neutral, and there is not. So I think that that is why one obstacle and challenge. Also the lack of training and institutional support for faculty. I think for example, in gender theory, in inclusion pedagogies, the colonial perspective, we don't know that. So I think that is a lack of training that is combined, and also you can add to this that there is no there is a lack of time in academic life. There's a precarity and workload pressures. There is a highly competitive conditions. So the gender sensitivity teaching is not included in the performance assessment. It is not included in the promotion criteria. So I think that maybe if we don't address that, we are not promoting the incorporation also in the practical way, I think. Also, I think there is some instrumentalism and market-driven education. So for what are working the universities now, and I think that is for the market and not for the knowledge, I think. So I think that is another dimension also. And for example, in STEM, that is my area. First, I think there is this strong resistance rooted in this perception of scientific neutrality and the myth of meritocracy, which finally promote this structural inequality. I think that produce and reproduce these inequalities because there is a disregard, in fact, the historical and systemic exclusion naturalize the existing hierarchies because they making it appear that like they are like those that are up top and highest positions have arrived there purely because of personal effort, rather than through networks or cultural capital or systemic advantage. So also there is a undermining the gender equity initiative. So also, I think, or secondly, I think that this historical masculinization in these fields, I'm talking about STEM, I think, reinforces the gender stereotypes and discourages the women and girls and gender diverse individuals to participate and advance in these areas of knowledge. And also, I think there is this absence of gender responsive budgets and policies that address first the specific needs like work-life balance, caregiving responsibilities, and protection against gender-based violence and discrimination. So I think that there is a lot of things, and I don't know, Juliana, if I answer your question or not. Finally.
Yes and no, but thank you for that.
Maybe we can talk about later.
Yeah, no, of course, no, but I kept on thinking of this hegemonic structures that are difficult to break. So that's also a struggle in Germany, especially in intersectional discussions now with war issues and the university stepping up. It's also an issue that is hard for this country to step up for.
Okay,
Malu?
great. Yeah.
Can I add just something very small? But
Okay,
I
very
also
quick, we need to close. Yeah.
Yes, I also think that we have a very important challenge to address gender-based violence, but also pass that and enter to other fields. I think that in Chile we are very determined to address gender-based violence, that is very important, but we also have other challenges as social co-responsibility, as equality in other in teaching and learning, and that is something that I think that is not always on in the center of our preoccupations. So that's challenge, and that is the challenges that Jennifer were talking about. So I think that is something that is very important to address, and thus hierarchies, and not just in the academia, are very strong in the academia, but also in other spaces of power as the state or the government. So to build public policies that can address those challenges, we have to build alliances, but also to address other challenges beside gender-based violence that I think that is very important, but I think that is one of the topics that we have to address, but we have to address the other challenges, and that is not that easy for us. And that is something that I think that is very challenging also.
Okay, thank you very much, Irune, and for sharing that, Jennifer, Ines. Sorry that we are very late. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. I hope we can keep in touch. Also, Martin left my email there. If you have any question, concerns, just write me. And I hope we can see each other again. I hope we can keep on this conversation. But thank you very much, everyone, participating. Ines, Jennifer, and Irune especially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the organization also.
Bye bye, gracias por todo.
Gracias.
Gracias a vosotras.
Bye. I have to go.
Bye. Thank you, Irune, Jennifer. Bye.